Hello, good morning, and happy Monday. This week, this is for Bible. Um, our Bible memory verse this week is going to be Psalm 56:11. In God I have put my trust. I will not be afraid what man can do unto me. Psalm 56:11. Try that again. Psalm 56:11. In God I have put my trust. I will not be afraid what man can do unto me. Psalm 56:11. So be sure you take some time to and memorize some of that, because on Friday there will be a quiz for this Bible verse. This week we're going to be learning about Daniel. We were introduced last week to Daniel about the story about the furnace that sounded kind of scary to me. But God gave the courage to do what is right. And these four young men got in trouble because they did not worship a 90-foot tall golden statue. And instead, three of them were thrown into a furnace, but God protected them because they had the courage to do what was right. It was in that Bible verse that we had met. Let's see here. He was given the name Belshazzar, but his Hebrew name was Daniel. And I told you last week that we would learn a little bit more about him. So if you are following along with your Bible, you can turn to Daniel chapter 5, verse 1. Right here, I've got it down here. So today it's Daniel chapter 5, verse 1, or you can turn to your Bible Truths book. And on page 119, you'll see an illustration. Looks mysterious, some strange handwriting, it says at the top. So let's take a look at it. It's a very short story. The question: who told the king to ask Daniel what the words meant? So I want you to listen. When you listen to the story, try to figure out who told the king to ask Daniel what the words meant. So we have Daniel's reputation. And got another one that's hard to pronounce, so bear with me. King Nebuchadnezzar, ruler of Babylon, had conquered the land of Judah. He went to the temple in Jerusalem and took many treasures from the house of the Lord. Many years later, Belshazzar took over as ruler of Babylon. One night, he was having a great feast. He invited 1,000 people to the feast. When he had begun drinking wine, Belshazzar asked for the gold and silver vessels that his grandfather had taken from the temple of Jerusalem. The people at the feast drank from these vessels of the Lord of the house while they worshipped false gods. While they were praising idols, the fingers of a man's hand appeared and wrote on the wall of the king's palace. When the king saw these fingers, he got scared. He got so scared that his knees knocked against each other. The king called for his astrologers, magicians, and soothsayers, and the men who were thought to be wise. He wanted to know what the handwriting meant. He promised to reward anyone who could explain it. The queen had told the king about a man who could help him. A man, she said, who had true wisdom. King Nebuchadnezzar had used this man to interpret dreams and made him a leader in the kingdom. The man's name was Daniel. King Belshazzar called for Daniel to tell him what the handwriting on the wall meant. He told Daniel that his wise men couldn't explain it. But Daniel was different. He had the wisdom of God. The king promised to make Daniel a third ruler in the kingdom if he could read the writing. All right, so we're going to leave off there. As you take a look at page 119, it kind of demonstrates what you see there, that writing on the wall. Belshazzar reigned from about 550 to 539 BC. BC is before Christ. Belshazzar's name means May Bel protect the king. Bel was a god worshipped in Babylon. Down at the bottom, the paragraph says, the temple vessels Belshazzar sent for had been brought from the temple in Jerusalem. They were made of solid gold and silver and had been dedicated to worship God. For the last 40 years, they had been stored in Babylon. All right. So that's the first Bible story. Go ahead and turn your pages to 120. Please read the directions. When we do our work or when we begin a page or an assignment, it's always important that we read the directions. At the top, it says, look at this newsletter. Use the information from the Bible to complete the caption for each picture. So from our Bible story, we have a picture. There's some blanks there. You need to fill in the words. And you can use your Bible story, the Bible area right here. You're going to want to use Daniel chapter 5, verses 1 through 16 to answer those questions, okay? If you're going to go ahead and begin work, go ahead and pause here. I'm going to continue on. For next week, for later on this week, the second Bible story is actually continuation. From here, we're going to read Daniel chapter 5, verses 17 through 31. Again, that's Daniel chapter 5, 17 through 31. The question for this story, was Daniel able to tell the king what the words meant? So see if you can find that answer. Was Daniel able to tell the king what the words meant? All right, Daniel's interpretation. Daniel told the king that he would read the handwriting on the wall, but not for a reward. The king could keep his gifts. Before reading the handwriting, Daniel reminded King Belshazzar about King Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar was a king who refused to give God the glory for all that he did. God had to humble Nebuchadnezzar by making him look and act like an animal. Nebuchadnezzar grew long hair and nails and ate grass like an animal. 7 years later, Nebuchadnezzar realized that he needed to give praise to God, the King of heaven. Belshazzar knew what had happened to his grandfather, but he had not learned anything from it. He did not have a humble heart. Belshazzar's feast showed that he was proud too. He asked for the temple cups to be brought so that he could have wine served in them at his feast. These cups were from God's holy house, and they were being used to worship idols. When God caused fingers to appear and write words on the wall, here again I'm going to try to pronounce them, mene, tekel, upharsin, on the wall. Daniel was able to tell King Belshazzar that what the words meant. Mene meant that God had numbered the days left in Belshazzar's kingdom. It would soon come to an end. Tekel meant that Belshazzar's life was put on a scale. It didn't weigh enough. Belshazzar's life wasn't what it should be. Upharsin meant that Belshazzar would lose his kingdom to two other groups of people named the Medes and the Persians. When Daniel finished explaining the meaning of the handwriting, King Belshazzar rewarded him. Daniel was given a scarlet robe and a gold chain, and he was made third highest ruler of Babylon. That night, King Belshazzar was killed. A man named Darius, who was king of Medes, took over the kingdom. Daniel lived to serve under this new king. Okay, and that's where it ends. So, do you remember Was Daniel able to tell the king what the words meant? It looks like he was. So for the rest of the week, you're going to be looking at page 121. You're going to use Daniel chapter 5, 17, verses 17 to 31 to complete that page there, all right? Then on page 22, read the directions, read the sentences, decide if each person is humble like Daniel, a man of God, or proud like Belshazzar, the wicked king. Circle the picture of the one whom you choose. So please read each sentence carefully and then circle, are they proud or are they humble? Then at the bottom, you're going to decode. It looks like you've got a code down there, and you're going to figure out what the code says, all right? That's on page 122. On Thursday, we have a discussion question. So you can go ahead and answer that question. The question will be, how had Daniel developed a good character? And then on Friday, it's a Bible verse quiz. So does anybody remember our Bible memory verse? Let's try it one more time. Psalm 56:11. In God I have put my trust. I will not be afraid what man can do unto me. Psalm 56:11. All right, boys and girls, I pray you have a wonderful day. Go ahead and refer back to this video as many times as you need to throughout the week. If you have any questions, please go ahead and ask. I'm available on chat, email, Dojo. So there's always ways to get a hold of me. All right. Have a wonderful day, boys and girls.